Hey out there YouTube, this is Chris with Bourbon Smoke. This is part 2 of my farmhouse table build. I'll leave a link to the first one in the description if you haven't seen this one or seen that one. And always, if you like what you see, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks. Bye. Alright, so once I figured out that I could actually get this board to fit with the level on my little table saw, um, I went ahead and decided to try out the technique of joining the boards that I had saw on the other video and to just to see if I could get it to join correctly. This is the end boards for the breadboard part of it that sticks out at the end there. And I would say if you want to see more on how to do this, I'll leave a link in the description for 731 and possibly the link to the video itself. 731 is also where I got the inspiration to try to build this table. So I would say run over there, give him a subscribe, and maybe check out the video, his video on this table, because his is a little bit more in depth than mine is. So yeah, so just go over and give his video a watch. So you can see here after I got these boards kind of joined and went to put them together, I was using pocket hole screws, and I had actually figured out how to really use the pocket hole screws here. Um, at first, I had never used them before, so kind of on the other pieces, I really didn't get the pocket holes set correctly, so some of the screw heads were sticking out. But everything glued and held together pretty well. But at this point, I figured out I was doing it wrong, and I went online, looked up, and saw what I was doing wrong, and then went back and had it set up correctly, so that way the pocket screws actually went in and did what they were supposed to. Also, thought it would be a pretty good idea to use a technique that I used on the flags to keep everything flat and level with one another. So I just threw a couple pieces of scrap there across and clamped them down to try to keep all the pieces flat with one another. It worked pretty well, as you'll see. There were some little spots where when I had the sand, I had to kind of got to get them to level off a little bit, but other than that, it came out all right. Alright, so now here's where I'm going to deviate from the other tables that I've seen online built like this. I want to do something different. I wanted to do something that I hadn't seen yet. So, because I went through a bunch of videos looking to see if anybody had done anything like this. I may be wrong and I just didn't find it. But I love working with epoxy. I love doing epoxy. A table that I've done before, I don't know, it's just something about it. I would love to be able to do tables like I think it's Blacktail Studios. I would love to be able to do something like that. And hopefully in future I can work myself up to the point to where I can do those types of tables. But this is my second time working with epoxy, and I think this came out so much better than the first one. But here is my start. I'm going to start routing it uh, out instead of actually doing like a river. I'm just going to route out the channel that I want. And you'll see here, I didn't get a lot of the routing because after I started, I got probably a small section of it out and my router fell apart, and I had to spend a little bit trying to figure out what was wrong with it and put it back together. Eventually I did, and got everything routed out like I wanted. Okay, so I'm gonna go over some of the mistakes I made doing this. It's the first time I ever tried to do this, so, well, yeah, I know. So my first biggest mistake was, and if y'all looked at it from the side, you can see the gull wings on it pretty much. So when I bought the lumber, like I said, I had bought it back, I don't know, maybe it's September, October, somewhere around there. And I brought it in, I threw it all in the garage, not thinking anything about it. This 1x8 that's on the ends down here, that was going to be the part of the breadboard, wound up on the bottom of the pile, sitting on the concrete. So, me not really knowing at the time, I know now that it will soak up moisture out of the concrete. I figured that shit. So, it cut really badly. It was a straight board when I bought it. Yeah, it looked like a C when I picked it up. So, thought maybe at the time I really didn't want to have to go back to the store and find another board. So I said, you know what, this is a prototype. This is going to be sitting in my living room. I'll do it anyway. I'll make it part of the design. I'll make it look like gull wings. So that's what I did. I wish I went back and got another board now. But if I was doing this for somebody else other than me, my living room, I would have. On the base, how this happened, I don't know. And if anybody knows, please leave this in the comments and let me know how a 4x4 can be a different width off the same board. So on one side, or on the sides, on the bottoms where I made the crosses, that's pretty much out of one board. And some of them ain't the same width. I don't know how that happened. I tried to fix it. I don't have a planer, so I couldn't plane it down. But I think it has character to it, so we're gonna leave it like that. It's going in my living room. I don't care. Next time, if I was to make it again, or make it for somebody else, I think I would probably make sure they're all fitting right. But, you know. And then the other thing I did wrong. This is one of my bigger ones. Trying to get a straight edge so I can put the bottom together and keep it straight. I saw a video where they said, and a really good video about using your table saw. For some reason I thought my table saw wasn't big enough to do it. I later found out it was, after I did it. But my rig was, I went ahead and just rigged up my level, because I figured I could just reference that straight edge. Put my boards against that level, did it. It worked, somewhat. The boards joined together pretty well. And then when I went to actually attach them to one another, I moved them around, which threw it off. So I got a little bit of a lip on one side. But like I said, first time I ever built one. So, you know, if you want to throw your comments in there about, hey, this doesn't look right, that's fine too. Like I said, it's going in my living room, not yours. If it was going in yours, I'd probably done something a little different. I'd pay a little bit more attention to it. But, you know, during those times, I was in a little bit of pain with my feet, my back, and everything. So, yeah, you learn. You live and you learn, I guess. So, if you're doing this, just make sure to line those 4x4s up right, and make sure you, once you get your stuff joined together, yeah, don't swap them around. They don't come out quite straight anymore. So that's my 2 cents. And don't know. So I'm gonna use this color to color the epoxy. Let's see. Turn the lights off and I want to see what it looks like when the lights are off. So here I'm just mixing up the epoxy 1 cup at a time and filling up the crevice that I routed out. Alright, so I had a lot of the epoxy kind of spilled over, got onto the wood, so basically I don't want to, well, can't use a planer, don't have one big enough, don't have one at all, don't have one big enough to go over this, and don't want to try my flattening jig, because the last time I tried it, I kind of screwed it up, and kept eating it a little bit too deep into the wood. This, I'm afraid if I go too deep, especially since some of the wires kind of came loose and are poking up, I can kind of see them through the epoxy. So what I think I'm gonna do, and this may be a screw up, but I'm gonna try it and just see what happens. Like I said, this is a prototype, so this is gonna sit in my house. So if it screws up, it screws up. But I'm gonna start with 60 grit, 60 or 80 grit on my orbital sander, and I'm just gonna go through and take everything, or sand it, all of the epoxy off of the wood, like I did here. As you can see here, the epoxy's over the top of it. So I'm gonna take all that back down to wood, so that way I can stain it, be nice, everything will be nice the same. Love out some of these places that are a little high. And we'll go from there.
Okay, so I kind of ran into kind of a conundrum here. I was originally going to buy these little things, tabletop fasteners, I guess is what you call them, and where you route a little hole in it and then screw it to the tabletop and it holds it on. But I put the epoxy in there and the LED lightings. So I don't know if those screws will go through and hit those LEDs and then screw up all that work. So I think I may have come up with an idea. Probably not the right one, but we're gonna go with it anyway and see what happens. So here's my plan. I'm just gonna drill some holes on the back sides here where you probably should never see them. And I'm gonna run some pocket hole screws down in there. I think these are 1.5 inch, 2 inch, something like that. Run them down inside there, kind of drilling at an angle. Well, supposedly an angle. So that way they'll pull in and pull it up. So I've already got one, seems to be all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other sides and we'll see what happens. Okay, so my pocket hole screw thing looks like it worked. The top looks to be firmly attached. Hopefully. I'm gonna go to carry it in. We'll see. So now I have to come up with, I gotta mount the LED controller to the bottom. I had actually went and bought some Velcro strips for that, along with the polyacrylic that I put on the top. Pulled the polyacrylic out of the bag, set it out here so I could do this, and then threw the bag away. And my Velcro strips were inside of it. So I've got to go pick up some more of those. And then we're just gonna mount that to the bottom with the Velcro strips. Hopefully that holds. And it'll be out of the way so you can't see it, but easily to take down and change the batteries in it. And I think this one will be done. Alright, so looks like the Velcro is holding like I want it to. Just got a little piece here, just stuck it to that side, didn't pull the backing off so the sticky stuff's not out. That should hold the wire up out of the way. If you ever, when you gotta change the batteries on this, just pull it loose, change the batteries, stick this back over it. You're good to go. Everything should stay in place. That way it gives you a little bit of space. You can pull it out from underneath the table, change it. You're not having to climb up in here. Oops, sorry about the finger. You're not having to, or that way you can climb up in here. You don't have to climb up in here to change the batteries. You can pull it out here. So I think that's it. Fixing to flip it over. We're gonna set it down and see what it looks like all put together. All right, so this is what the finished product looks like. So this is the last coat of polyacrylic on it. On the bottom of it, the legs and everything, I used just kind of a satin lacquer or something like that on top. Something I had sitting in the shop that I'd used on another project, just had just enough left to do it. I didn't want it to be super shiny or like the top. So there's the card run back. So in a moment we'll move it inside and I'll show you the LED lighting that I put on it. I don't think you can see it out here, but we'll give it a shot and see. Oh, let's see if you can see it. So I embedded the LEDs in there. My whole design of what I wanted this to be like was kind of a darkened sky with like stars twinkling through it. It came pretty close to what I was wanting to be, but it came out so much nicer than I imagined. So do a couple more seconds to the shots here, and then I think we'll go ahead and end the video. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it, and see you on the next one.